Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everyone, just doing a quick sound check before we get started today to make sure you can hear. We will get started here in about 2 minutes. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the presentation. Hello and welcome to today's Screenwriters University webinar, the Micro Budget Screenplay, Life Lessons for the DIY Screenwriter with Paul Peditto. Before we begin, I'd like to go over a few details regarding today's webinar. First of all, today's webinar is being recorded, so you can sit back, relax, and enjoy the presentation. You don't have to take notes unless you want to. You will receive a follow-up thank you email in approximately 1 week. Due to the virus, we are working fewer hours, so it may take longer to get it processed. I just wanted to let you know that. But you will get that link and you'll be able to play that recording as often as you wish for at least a year. The next important note is that we welcome and invite you to ask questions. On the go to webinar control panel on the right side of your computer screen, you will see a question box. Excuse me. You can type in the question for the presenter at any time. If it looks like the question disappears, don't worry, they collect in a well and will get to the presenter. We have a policy in which no question goes unanswered, so if the presenter were to run out of time to get all the questions, they will be answered after the webinar and will be included in the same email with the recording of the webinar. And the last thing I'd like to note is that sometimes you may not be able to attend the live webinars, but if it's a topic you're interested in, you should still sign up because you'll receive the same as the person who attends the live receives. You will get that follow-up email with the recording and any unanswered questions as well. Now I'd like to introduce to you our presenter. Paul Peditto is an award-winning screenwriter and consultant. His low-budget film, Jane Doe, starring Callista Flockhart, won Best Feature at the New York Independent Films and Video Festival. 6 of his screenplays have been optioned, including Crossroaders for Haft Entertainment, who have also produced Emma and Dead Poets Society. He recently wrote and produced a micro-budget feature chat, currently being distributed by Gravitas Ventures and Showcase Entertainment. Over the past decade, Mr. Peditto has taught or consulted with over 1,000 screenwriting students around the world. He's been a featured speaker at the Writer's Store, International Screenwriters Association, Chicago Screenwriters Network, Meetup.com, and Chicago Filmmakers. He has appeared on National Public Radio and WGN Radio and reviewed in the Chicago Tribune, Chicago Sun-Times, LA Times, and the New York Times. Peditto is currently an adjunct professor of screenwriting at Columbia College. Under his guidance, his students have written and produced films that appeared in major film festivals, have semi-final placings at Nicole Fellowship, and have won awards and screened at film festivals around the country. His new book, The DIY Filmmaker, from Self-Counsel Press, is available on Amazon and anywhere else. And Paul, you can unmute yourself now and begin your presentation, and I won't jump in unless you need me to.
Thanks a lot, Sue. I appreciate that. And hello to everyone. How are you? Thank you for dropping in and taking some time from whatever corner of this endless Twilight Zone movie or episode, never-ending Twilight Zone episode. Wherever you find yourself in the world, hello, welcome. Nice to meet you. Thanks for dropping in. We have a lot to cover, so I'm just going to get right to it. And I will try to leave 30 minutes of time for questions so I can learn all about your projects. And feel free to ask me whatever you like. I'll do my best to answer that. So let's get going. There was that intro was about 6 minutes long. I'm gonna have to cut that down a little. So you don't really need much of this. I did make Jane Doe with Callista Flockhart a long time ago. Made $2 million. That was 16 millimeter. Back in the day, we're still shooting film. I am at Columbia now. I also teach at Second City, Chicago Filmmakers, Screenwriting University. And I have a blog, Script Gods Must Die. There's a lot of knowledge on that blog for free. You should check it out. If you ever need to contact me, you could reach me through there. I've had that blog for I don't know 5-10 years, so there's a lot of writing on there that I think could help you. We'll talk more about chat later. That'll be our example. So this is a cut down version of a micro budget filmmaking class. I'm going to concentrate mostly on screenwriting. We will do a little bit on the production side in case you're interested or you're getting prepared at some point, whenever that is, to be able to shoot your own movie. That's the goal here: is prepare, get ready, and make the thing. So we're going to do preparation, talking about outlining and your mental preparation for writing the script. Then we're going to talk about the 10-point system for writing it and some traps. And hopefully, when we talk about chat, I can break down a few things that you don't want to do, and potential traps to avoid. And then on the backside, we will talk a little about distribution and marketing, and I'll help however I can there. But primarily, we're going to talk about screenwriting. When I wrote my book, I was surprised. Like there were umpteenth books on micro budget movie making, but there was very, very few on micro budget screenwriting, and that's really important. The screenplay, because that's where it all starts from. It starts from you, the screenwriter, and let's talk about how to write one of these things. Colin Costello, who used to run Chicago Screenwriters Network, used to debate me, like, the fact that you had to be in Los Angeles, right? If you're going to be in the business, you need to be in LA. And my thinking is, yes, if you're an established writer, taking meetings, pitching, going for assignments, yes, you should be in Los Angeles. That's where the business is. That's where the money is. But you do not have to be in Los Angeles to make a movie, and especially a micro budget film, one of your first movies, your entree into the film world. You do not have to be in Los Angeles to do that. It's tough in Los Angeles because, in a perfect world, you'd write a great script, whatever, it would place with the blacklist. An A-list producer would just so happen to be cruising the blacklist, look at it, love it, option it, get your manager, maybe get an agent, send it out, get Jeremy Renner on there, action movie, 6-figure deal for you, $50 million movie. You're in the Writers Guild. Boom, you're taking meetings. Your career's launched. Life's great. It would be great if it worked out that way. but it just doesn't work out that way very often. I did just update this this webinar. So if you hit that link, you will see the 2019 spec script deal list provided by Going to the Story. And you will see, incredibly, that he lists only 32 spec, which is you're writing it. Nobody's paying you to write it. That's a spec script. Only 32 spec scripts in 2019. It doesn't even seem possible, but that's what he's got listed up there, which tells me, if, tens of thousands are being registered at the Writers Guild at WGA.org, that your odds are not so great in selling a spec screenplay to Hollywood. And I don't mean to open this webinar bumming you out, but I'm simply saying the odds aren't great. It's hard when you need other people's money. The minute you write a script for $2 million or $1 million or whatever you can't raise, you need other people's money. That's where it gets really hard, because now you're bending over backwards. You're trying to send it out. You're going through screenwriting contests. You're doing whatever you're doing to try to get noticed, to get the script noticed, because you can't raise $5 million to make it, relying on other people's money. The minute you do that, you cede power. You guarantee the LA reality, the LA necessity, the LA mechanism. And it's why some time ago I decided to skip all that and just go micro budget. Because once you go micro budget, you control the mechanism. And then the question becomes, how do I write a movie for the lowest price possible without compromising my vision? And that's really the important question you should be asking yourself, not how the hell am I going to raise $5 million? Micro budget, I don't think there really is a definition. My definition is it's a movie made with money exclusively controlled by you, whatever that is. If that's $500 or $50,000, whatever it is you can raise, and you do not have to answer to other people, and you control it, that's micro. And we will talk about trying to write within whatever budget you can raise. And again, it doesn't really matter the number, because you could make a short film for $500, and you certainly could make a feature for 50. So let's have a look at how we do that. First, in writing the script, I'm not sure, I guess we'll be talking afterwards. I'm not sure about your level of experience. If you have already written features, if you've written shorts, if you've never written one, I'll just throw some ideas on outlining by you here. And hopefully it won't be redundant if you have a lot of experience at this. There's several forms of outlining an idea ahead of time. There's brainstorming the idea. Then there's the traditional log line and synopsis. Talk about that in a minute. Treatment, step outline, which is basically carting the movie out. They call carting movie out the Sid Field system. And the beat sheet, which is, the save the cat, whatever, 15 beats for the entire movie. Save the Cat, very influential structural book, as is the Sid Field screenplay book. That was the first major book, if you don't count The Hero's Journey, of course, which Joseph Campbell is truly the first structural book, and then maybe Sid. But right now, most online schools, I would say, are enamored with the Save the Cat system, and whatever it is that works for you. Honestly, that's all that matters. If you Google structural systems or structure screenplay books, you will see dozens of them. Everyone has a structural model. I saw one email post that had 50 of them joined together, because it's so easy to write a structure book. The people who write structure books like generally don't write screenplays. It's just far better to tell you how to write your script than for them to even try to write one. There's more money in it for them. So they'll just write their book and cash in while you attempt to be creative. So the beat sheet stuff, I tend to go more toward carting out and outlining the script. Let's start talking about that. When I'm outlining, I have a folder of ideas, and these are things that I would love to write. Like, they sit in there in the folder as ideas, and then if I ever have time, I can open the folder up and start to work on something if my jobs allow me to have the time to write something. And I just start thinking about what it is I want to write, like what is really on my mind at the time, and that's usually how I work on it. Like there's a subject that is just pressing on my brain that like it has to come out, and I know that I'm going to write about that thing. So I kind of generate ideas almost out of theme, but that's my process. Like that might not be your process. There is no one way to do this. The usual famous logline and synopsis, right? Logline is the shortest pitch possible, right? It's the elevator pitch. It's the so what's your story about? Like we're on the first floor. You have to the fourth floor to tell me what's the story about. And it's just a one or two line breakdown of the script along who, goal, obstacle. Like that's all you need in a log line. Do not overcomplicate it. Who is the protagonist, the point of view character? What is the goal? What do they need most? And then who or what is stopping them from attaining the goal? Treatment, super important. Uh, Generally, I find it's 1 page of treatment for 10 pages of script. I wouldn't write more than a 10-page treatment. I really wouldn't. Although I heard that James Cameron did a 96-page treatment for Titanic. So, 990-page script. But yeah, no, you wouldn't want to write a 96-page treatment. Could probably do it in 10. This one is 6, I believe. I can't really see. I think it says 6. And treatment is third person, present tense, observable behavior, prose paragraph formatting, limited dialogue, broad strokes. So just keep it visual. What is the camera seeing now, right? Bill stands outside the liquor store. He waits a moment. He moves inside. He moves to the back with Frito-Lay potato chips. He pulls out a gun. He checks that it's loaded. He looks to the front. The cashier's busy. He moves to the front like it's third person present tense, right? What is the camera seeing now? Broad strokes. Step outline is more of the traditional sit field carding method. And if you could see here, I don't know, can you see this pointer? Maybe not. These are all scenes, if you can see the pointer. And you probably can't see down here, but there's 16 pages of this. And this takes me a month or two of outlining to figure out all the scenes in my head, right? You keep running the scenes over and over and over in your head. You used to buy 3x5 index cards, put an idea, a scene on the table. You put all the cards on the table, and then you spend a week moving the cards around on the table to see the entire movie. And then you would cut stuff, add stuff, consolidate. You don't have to do that anymore because in the software, if you have Final Draft, there's a carding option right in the software. So you could do this all on your computer and move the cards around and see all the scenes before you even write them. I don't really have writer's block because if I get stuck, I don't know if you're seeing this pointer, but if I get stuck on this scene I skip it and just go to this scene because I already saw it in my head. If when the time comes to write it, I get stuck, I don't let it bother me. I just move around it. And eventually I'll come back and grab it. This way, you don't get stuck. And while you're doing this, you should probably be multitasking. If it's micro, that means you're probably not going to just be the writer. Like you very well could be the director. You're probably going to be one of the producers. So you're going to have some hyphens to your name that maybe you're not used to, which means you're going to have to start thinking about stuff like raising money, you know, like crewing up, like who's going to shoot this, casting. And please, I'm not even going to go into the coronavirus implications where nobody is making movies right now or TV. Like it's almost completely shut down. And I don't know what the near future bodes. I know the mechanism will eventually kick back in. There's no doubt about it. But these are things you have to start thinking about: casting, budgeting, scheduling, crewing up, and of course the big one, financing. Um, would it be great if you had a partner who was handling all this, or three producers? Yeah, it would be great if other people would just step up for free because they're not getting paid. Nobody's getting paid up front. It would be great if they just stepped up and took care of all these little details. But chances are you're not going to be able to do that with a micro. You're going to have to do some or most of this yourself. So you're going to have to get educated on these other things beside writing. So how do you start? Conceive of a movie that you want to shoot, that you want to make, script you want to write for a budget that you can raise. You outline the idea, you use these common sense rules, and you write it. Take some notes from your inner circle, then you rewrite it. You make it as tight as possible. Meanwhile, you're multitasking, like you are working on the other stuff. You're maybe going to filmmaking events within your community. Maybe you're meeting a DP, production designers, editors. If you're at film school, you're totally meeting those people, and you're going to try to get them on board. You're going to let them know you're going to make this thing in January. It's happening. Do you want to come on and do this? Here in Chicago, we have a great community, tons of actors, great locations, great crew. We have the real deal, like the best sets in the world. That's why Dick Wolf shoots his stuff here. So we have most everything. We don't have a ton of homegrown production money, but it doesn't matter. Like I know it's very intimidating. Like I don't know DPs, or I don't know any sound people. It doesn't matter. Like I could point you to 5 Facebook groups where you could find somebody. So don't get intimidated by that. But you are going to have to start thinking about all this stuff. Are you going to do a Kickstarter campaign? Are you going to do a fundraiser? Can we find some whale investors, right? Do I know anyone who would contribute 5 grand, 10 grand? If you do, by the way, have a big fat investor list, could you please pass that on to me? Thank you. Financing. My partner Boris Wexler, we co-wrote that micro budget book. He's a great producer. He's also a very good director. And everything I learned on the production side, like producing, is like my third best thing after writing and directing. And I never used to produce stuff. But eventually, if you just start doing micro, you have to do that. But Boris is very, very strong at producing, so he taught me a lot. And when we did this Kickstarter campaign, like we shot it for almost nothing. And if you hit this link here, which I'm pointing to with my little hand thing. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm pointing to it at the bottom. You'll be able to actually see that Kickstarter campaign, and we raised 25 grand. Like, that's not insignificant. I doubt we could do that again, because Kickstarter, it's not hip and new anymore. It's been around the block. It's the first time you ask for money from your friends and family, like, that's different. They'll almost certainly send you in 50 or $100, right? But doing it 5 times, doing it once a year, like that, it gets a little more of a burden. But if you want to go see our Kickstarter campaign, which raised more than half the money for my last movie, you can go right to this connection there, the URL. On the fundraising side, and then I want to get back to the writing. Yeah, we're going to be looking for investors. We may or may not be doing a Kickstarter campaign, which is enormously time consuming. If you go to my blog, punch in Kickstarter, and you'll see 2 or 3 posts about how we did it, how we raised the money. You're also going to look for grants in whatever movie you're making, or whatever filmmaker you find yourself. Perhaps you can qualify for grants. I'm also looking for fundraiser donations. Do we want to do a fundraiser? Can I get some prizes? Can we do it? Can we get music for free? Can we get donations? And then soft money is here. Well, for instance, here in Chicago, it's 30% of $100,000 production. If you're for contributions, you're going to get a credit, so long as it's verifiable that you spent over $100,000 on your production. From that point on, you're going to get 30% tax credit off every dollar here you shoot in Illinois, which is why people come here. It doesn't take a lot. Like, you're getting a third right off the top. That's why Dick Wolf shoots everything here, right? Chicago Fire, Chicago Lawyer, Chicago Garbage Man, Chicago Janitor. I don't know, like, whatever. Put a Chicago in front of it, and it'll probably work for TV. You need to put together a business plan to give to investors. Some of the business plan will have a synopsis, director statement, bios. It'll have a market analysis of how the movie is expected to do and why, where you're going to sell it, and then the proposal on how you will pay people back, and how they'll maybe even make money at this. You need someone with a little business skill to put this together, and because you want investors, man, and they don't grow on trees. Like, it's really hard. So you want people to think they have your shit. You have your shit together, and that you can actually return the investment. Like, it's not some fantasy that I'm going to give you $5,000 and I will never see that money again. No, we don't want that thinking. We want the thinking that we are going to do our level best to get you that money, and you're going to get the first money back if you invest in. Crewing up, that involves your DP who's shooting a movie, the AD, critical person who is moving the production along briskly, script supervisor, you got to have it. You got to have every one of these. A production designer, you got to have great sound. You've got to have great sound. You got to usually pay for that, hundreds a day. So how can I get that cheaply? This is where it starts to get into it, right? Like, who can I get that will pull this off well but cheaply? Hair, makeup, and of course production assistants. Scheduling, there's scheduling software, there's budgeting software. Each of those strips means a different thing. Interior day, interior night, exterior day, exterior night, different colors, and they get grouped together for maximum efficiency so you save money, right? If I'm at one location, I'm going to try to shoot all the shots in one day if possible. Uh, so there is scheduling software for that. This is why you probably need a producer if you don't have producer chops, or you'll need to get up to speed quickly on the producing side to save yourself the money. You've got to know this stuff to save yourself the money. Okay, back to the script. Yes, we took a little detour there. So let's get back to the script. So uh, before you start writing, okay, so we just prepared it. We went through whatever 2 weeks, a month and a half of outlining it, figuring it all out ahead of time, and now you're about to write it, right? So I want you to approach this with good energy, and that means like figuring out your own body clock. Like, when am I going to write this? And there's a certain period of the day that's inviolate. Like, I am writing. I'm going to try to write every day. If I can't do that every other day, whatever. That's your process. If you can do one day and 10 hours that day and you're productive, great. Versus whatever, 5 days of 2 hours per. Whatever works for you is fine. But I just want to make you aware that energy is the key. Like, you can't come at it at midnight drained after your job, like, because then you're going to be stuck. Like, it's going to appear like you have writer's block when you don't. You just have bad energy. So keep that in mind. It's a mental approach. Why am I writing this movie? Like, why is it important that I write this script? Why do I have to write this script? What is motivating me? I hope it's not money, because that's not really a great motivation. I mean, yeah, it would be great to have money, but that better not be like the primary goal. You're writing a micro budget. Like, it's hard to sell, man. You ain't getting an AMC 21 probably with a micro budget, not unless you for wallet. We could talk about that later, where you're actually buying time at an AMC a screening. It shouldn't be for money. It should be fighting the good fight. You have a really passion project that you've always wanted to do. You're dying to hear it read by real actors, and you're just going to do it. Like, there's nothing that you were just not going to stop. You were going to get it done. That is the approach where you're totally going to write it, because you're just possessed, like you're obsessed. You're going to do it. You'd kill the perfectionist instinct in you as you write the first draft. Let me tell you. What does that mean? Well, if you go back to that scene in Amadeus where Mozart, his wife brought Mozart's originals to Salieri. If you remember that scene, he's like, "These are originals." Have another bonbon, and she's eating coconut bonbons, and he's like looking at this work, and there's no corrections, right? There is no corrections on these pages, so it's straight from God's hand to Mozart's ear, and that's pretty much, it doesn't happen. Like, in this process, there's going to be changes throughout. I want you to get used to the idea that the script is never done. Like, even when they're shooting your movie, the script is never done. There's going to be changes on set. You just have to be prepared for that. Like, the script is never done. And when you first write it, like, you can't think like, okay, I'm not moving forward till I get this right. If it's not working, you move past it. Like, and you just write it really rough. You write the first draft really rough. You can't keep trying to rewrite, and perfect the first 30 pages, because you're never going to get past that. You have to push forward. The first draft is whatever, the discovery draft, where you're going to say everything you want to say, and whatever, if it's 125, 140 pages, it doesn't matter, because nobody's ever going to see that version, and you're not shooting it because it would be too expensive. But that doesn't mean the first draft you can't write 140 just for yourself, to write everything, right? So you write it all out, then you start trimming back, but you don't try to be too perfect. You don't censor yourself, because believe me, that'll stop you. That will completely stop your progress. So when you're writing it, you should just puzzle piece it, which means you're seeing certain scenes in your head, right? So you write those down immediately, right? This is for outlining too, right? I'm seeing 40 scenes. You just write those down wherever they are. It doesn't matter. They're jigsaw puzzle pieces. Then you'll figure out where everything goes, but you just keep writing the scenes you could see. You don't do it linearly. You know what I mean? Like you don't go A, what's B? I have A and C, what's B? And then you're stuck. No, you do A, C, F, Q, R, S, L. Like you put those scenes in there, then you puzzle piece in the rest. You'll figure it out. Don't stop yourself and don't be too much of a perfectionist. Okay, so finally, we're going to get into the actual writing of the script. So here's 10 rules that hopefully will help you write a micro budget. First one is think like a producer. Well, what's that mean? Micro budgets made with money exclusively controlled by you, probably not a lot. Money that you got from mom, from 1,000 friends, right? You get 20 bucks each from 400 people. That would be great. That's $8,000, right? I think it's $8,000. Yes. 8,000, I could probably make a really cheap feature for that, or I could make a great short. I'm just gonna grab as many donations as I can through Kickstarter, or however. If I raise 25,000, I have to write a $25,000 movie. Well, how do I know what that is? Well, the only way to know what that is to know what stuff costs. Like, what do I have to have? What are the costs of shooting a movie? So you have to kind of put it on your producer hat, and not write in stuff that is impossible to get on 25,000. You can't write that into the script. At script level, you cannot write it in. With Jane Doe, like my first movie, I had never even been on a film set. It was ridiculous that they asked me to direct that. And I had zero producer chops. That was someone else's job. And we had a $250,000 budget. And let me tell you, like, we didn't make one day. When I say make a day, I mean, we were supposed to shoot 7.5 pages, and we shot 7.5 pages. Like, it didn't work out that way. We simply couldn't do it. We didn't make it. It was unrealistic expectations. And so I was chopping the script, right? Because we couldn't shoot scene B. So now I had to rewrite the script to go from A to C. And it was a disaster. It was terrible. So I don't wish that on you. You have to be careful not to do that. So if you have 25,000, you have to write a 25,000 movie. That means you have to be aware of production side costs. So you know not to write in stuff that's just going to be too expensive. Number 2, concept. Equal genre plus simplicity plus vision. I actually just checked this. Roger Corman, who is the granddaddy of micro, has 415 IMDb producer credits. So he's pretty amazing. If you haven't heard Roger Corman, he predated the digital DIY era by 40 years. Founded the Corman School, which many, many famous actors and directors passed through. And he did some stuff with basically mashing up genres. Like, you have to be aware of the genre that you are shooting for micro. Certain genres, you're just not going to get, you're not going to be able to pull it off, like a period piece drama or a post-apocalyptic action movie with special effects. Like, you want to really challenge yourself with that, go ahead, but I probably wouldn't do it. Corman did stuff like horror, but then he would mash it up with comedy. We could totally do that for micro budget. And that's why he was different. because back then, the 50s and 60s, nobody was doing that, right? No people, you went to see a horror movie, it was a horror movie. You didn't throw in kind of the comedy that you would see with, for instance, VHS 2, VHS, so many of the modern horror movies. Get Out had, I don't know if you would categorize that as a horror, but it had great comedy. So Corman would do that, and he would mash up certain genres, but definitely do the genres that didn't cost too much. And I don't know if you've seen Primer. Sci-fi can be done cheaply. Primer was made for about $7,000. Great movie where they create a time machine in the garage. I would recommend checking out Primer. Also, of course, we're talking micro. You talk about Robert Rodriguez, El Mariachi, the famous $7,000 movie, which cost a lot more to blow up on the big screen, but it originally cost $7,000. And he wrote a book about that. We'll get to that in a minute. Check out Fede Alvarez and check out a short film called Panic Attack, which was made for $300. And because he was a whiz at special effects, that movie looks like $1 million movie. It's stunning. And it was so good that it got him the gig to direct a remake of Evil Dead. So, yes, I'm telling you, it's possible. Like, if your chops are that good, you could do a $300 movie that puts you on the map. That's what this whole thing is about, that you can pull it off. Like, this is how you do it. You have to show the Hollywood people that you can make something that would blow them away. Because they're looking at it like, holy cow, if he did this for 300, what would he do for 3 million? Like, they're salivating. And I believe that link at the bottom is for Panic Attack. So check that out. I spoke about Robert Rodriguez, famous book, Rebel Without a Crew. If you're interested in micro, you've got to get that book. It's probably, you get it used for like what, $3, $5 now. I mean, it's been out forever. He moved on to much bigger stuff, of course, but he's always known for El Mariachi, predating the digital era. His advice on how he made El Mariachi is more relevant than ever. Locations, prop, wardrobe. His goal was to pay for nothing. Like, it doesn't get any more simple than that. My goal on every level is to pay for nothing. And that's not going to work sometimes. Like, you've got to pay for stuff, like whatever, craft services. Like, you got to feed your people. There's a lot of things you have to pay for, but that doesn't mean the instinct can't be to attempt to pay for nothing, right? So if he was doing the craft service thing, he would be scheming how he could get free food for his people. Believe me, and you have to too. You have to be a schemer on the production side and think, how can I do this? How can I get sound for nothing that is still good? You fight to hold the line on costs like actors and locations. I have to pay for the DP. I will, but I am going to fight every step of the way to not pay. How do I do that? Well, Dad owns a bowling alley, so I'm going to write the script in a bowling alley. It sounds messed up, but if I can get that bowling alley for free, it's going into the script. Mom runs the Salvation Army. Then the movie's wardrobe is coming from the Salvation Army. So are the props, and we might even shoot in the Salvation Army. If a friend owes me a favor and has a stretch limo, that's going into the script. See what I mean? It's like, what can I get for free? You have to start brainstorming. What can I get for free? And then you write that into the script. Central locations is what you want. You want to limit company moves. Why? Because every single time I have to move 10, 15 people, it takes time. It eats up my day. I only have so many hours. The clock is ticking. So for chat, my last film, my partner Boris, who was directing, was working at the Board of Trade at the time, and that movie is set in a cybersex chat office. And I had imagined it to be really skeevy, but it turned out that he got permission from his bosses to shoot weekends at the Board of Trade office. We had the entire floor. Man, that saved us $10,000 a week easily. It was a fantastic location. Like that became our base, and it cost us nothing. Like so, it depends like completely on your situation, what you can get for free. We shot there 10 of the 18 days, and then the pickup day. That was our base. So you as a writer have to understand the basics of film production, and understand that every single crew move means I'm taking money out of my pocket, which I don't want to do. So I'm going to write that in this script. Like, I'm not doing it. Like, I'm not going to have 40 locations. Right? I'm not going to have 40 locations. I'm going to have one central location, maybe two. You see this in film scripts that started out as plays, right? Like August Osage County. Also, like Fences, right? I don't know if you saw Fences, but Fences is cool because it's over 2 hour movie, and there's like 5 locations. Like you're in the backyard, you're in the house, you're in the front yard, and maybe there's like 2 outside locations. It's amazing, right? And you do over 2 hours. It just proves that you can do it. Like you can limit these locations, and the more you do that, the more you're going to save. That probably means heavy dialogue scenes, and heavy dialogue works very well with micro because it eats up pages, and I don't have to move the camera very much, right? Keep all my people in one place. If you get a house, by the way, I'm sure it doesn't take a brain surgeon to think this out. Like I could pretend it's 3 different characters' houses, right? Like I could be in character A's bathroom, character B's kitchen, character C's living room, right? That could be 3 different people's in the story, 3 different people's pads, but it's really just one. And that's the way you want to start thinking by limiting locations in the script. And I really want to not shoot these exterior night shots if possible. For the last movie, I just shot one. You could see here like all the different sound. This is from my whatever production journal, and it was stunning, like how many sounds were coming at us from downtown Chicago that night. And you got buzzers and bells from parking garages. You got muddy waters coming in from the sports bar. I don't have the crowd control to stop people from coming through my set. I can't shut off the sidewalk. Cars are coming in and out. Pizza delivery guys, people are, you know, stopping their car like, oh, is this Chicago Fire? No, it's not Chicago Fire. It's a dinky little movie. Move on. um, and why is this a big deal? Because I'm going to go back for a second. See, like we were going to do a long monologue with this hot dog guy. So you do the master shot and he's doing the monologue, and then I have to come in on a close shot and he does the monologue again, and then we cut it up. So if I don't have a buzzing, where is it? The buzzing, whatever. If I don't have dogs yip yapping, you in the master shot, but I have them in the close up, I can't use the close up. You can't just have dogs sounding off out of nowhere. It becomes unusable. And then we have to ADR. We have to bring the actor in. It's going to cost more money. So it's really hard to control sound. It's also not easy lighting out there. So if I were you, I would do my best not to write into the script exterior night shots. I would also limit my principal and secondary characters if possible. Why is that? Well, because SAG ultra low budget is 125 a day. So if you have 8 lead characters and I have to pay them whatever for a 12-day shoot, like I can't I can't get all SAG actors because I can't pay whatever 10 days at 125. That's $1,000 per actor for 8 actors. I can't spend $8,000 on actors if my budget's 25 probably. So it's a calculation in your head, right? So it's like, do I really need 8? Can I do 6? You know, suddenly it's like, oh, does she have to have 3 sisters? Can we do 1? And if it's your money, like this is the way your mind starts thinking. So you definitely want to consider doing non-SAG where you don't have to pay actors, especially if you're in a town like Chicago, which has tons of really good actors, and you could get good non-SAG actors. But if someone does blow me away in the casting audition and they're SAG, like I've got to pay for that actor. Like I've got to find the money. So it will be a case by case thing. But I am going to limit the number of extras. This is like in a coronavirus era, it's not even a question. You're not getting extras. Like, how are you planning on putting 50 people in a room? That's never going to happen. So don't even write it in. Don't write in Wrigley Field. You're not getting it. It's not open. Don't write in Union Station. Don't write in stuff on the CTA that could be stolen. You have to show permits. If you're going to your distributor, they're going to want to see a book of those permits, and you can't just steal shots. I mean, you could do it for whatever for a Columbia student film, but you're not going to be able to get into a major film fest with stolen music and stolen shots. And forget about all those extras, okay? You can live without them. Whatever, this is not 10 Commandments. If you want kids in your movie, please feel free, write them in. If you want blood effects, go for it. I would recommend you don't do that, though. I already talked about Fede Alvarez, who was superb at visual effects. If you have someone who's superb at visual effects and they love your script, they're going to do it for free. Awesome. Then you can, then you can do those visual effects because you're going to get them for free, and they're going to be unbelievable production value. You're the writer, possibly the producer. You have to think about all this stuff. For instance, gunplay in chat. I had no idea. Like when I wrote in, we had to have people die in chat. We had to have it. So but I had no idea. Like if you have a gun, if you have gunplay, you need a gun wrangler. I'm paying all these people, the gun wrangler, to train the actors. I need a Chicago Police Department officer on set for the full day, and if we go 1 hour over, they get double time. Ouch. I need someone to mix blood effects. Like, yeah, I know, whatever. There's YouTube. I can mix blood effects for free, $20, right? I can do it. I don't need someone to do that. Well, okay, but your whole credibility, your whole movie's credibility is now based on if people believe that that's blood. So thank you, but I'm going to pay someone to do that who actually does it for a living. And all these people, right? Like that's 3 or 4 people just because I'm using guns. I have to pay all those people. So the question is, do I have to have the gunplay? You start asking yourself this when you're pulling the money out of your own pocket. Kids can only work half a day, and I have to pay for a teacher or someone to watch them, right? A child welfare officer. Someone's got to be with them. It's just kind of a pain in the ass because I have to pay for an adult, just like the Chicago police officer. Like I have to pay for someone who is not going to be on the screen, which is why I always question if I have to have kids in my movie. quick story. Go back to Jane Doe. There was a scene in there where he's in the world's smallest room, and he invites his soon-to-be lady love in there, trying to impress her, and he's got donuts, and he offers her one. It turns out there's a cockroach on the donut, so he tries to be cool, and he picks that donut up and he eats it, right? And what I didn't know, I mean, we had PETA issues, if you could believe it, because we had to pin the cockroaches down. And you pierce a cockroach actor like they're not happy about it, like they're mortally wounded, so they're not taking their cues, right? So it's like action, and cockroach doesn't move, and it's like, okay, cut, and then they move, right? So it's like pain in the ass cockroach actors. And I was just like, why did I write this in the first place? We did so many takes, and this was on film. It was just burning money, and it was just for a gag, And I think eventually we got it, but it took whatever 6 or 7 takes. It was such a waste of money. So I would have to say to you, like, be careful writing in cockroaches or any other animal, because when the time comes, like, they've got to be on the case and act, right? Dog actor. You better be on the case, man. I have no money. When I say action, you better move. I would steer clear of that myself. If I have to have a dog, I'll write in dog, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that unless I have to do it. Page count. So I don't know. Let's say I don't know. Let's say it's a 10-day shoot, and I've got a 100-page script, right? And this is incorrect, but let's say I'm doing 10 pages a day, and whatever the budget's, whatever it's costing me $2,500 a day, right? I have a 100-page script, so the notion that I could cut the script from 100 to 80, that would save me $5,000, because that would be 2 less days of shooting. Hell yeah, I'm going to do that. I am absolutely going to cut that script down to the bone if I can, because it means 1 or 2 days less shooting. It means thousands of dollars for back end expenses, right? Like film fest submissions, marketing, all that stuff. So I would actively look to trim the script down to the bone. White production draft, which is the shooting script. Every scene should be boiled down to the necessity, meaning I can't take it out. Like if I took it out, the story no longer makes sense. That's how you know you need the scene. Like if I took it out, the story doesn't make sense anymore. Then it stays in. But for other stuff, right, like parentheticals, action lines, some stuff that's like, I could maybe take that out. The way to know if you could take it out is take it out. Does the scene still make sense? If the answer is yes, then it's out. That's how you know you don't need it. And last but not least, story is free. Comes from John August, who has a great blog. And he's telling you basically that micro budget is usually dialogue based, story based, not effects. So it's Primer over Battleship, right? It's Eraserhead over Lara Croft Tomb Raider. This is not Terminator you're making. It's probably minimal locations, minimal actors, heavy dialogue, drama, or maybe horror or comedy. But it's going to be heavy on the story side. And those are my primary 10 for you. Now let's look at a couple of examples of micro budget and get into a little distribution. And I'm looking at 55 minutes here, so I better hurry, huh? Let me hurry. I'm going to breeze through this pretty fast, but you can look at it on your own afterwards. So, Chat was my last movie. Here's a script page from it. It was set in a Triple X chat room. Father has to search for his daughter. She goes missing, and he has to go through all this weirdness to find her. And my partner and I were like, "What do we want to do now?" We were showing our movie Roundabout American, and okay, we got it. It's up. Now what? It's like, let's make a thriller. And I had an old script, an old play where it's a man whose girlfriend dies in a car accident, and the man is unable to handle it, and then imagines a dreamscape of his own world. He creates his own fantasy world, which is, I just gave away Chat, but that's what Chat is. So I started writing draft after draft of it, putting together pieces for people I knew in the world, right? I got an old play. I know this guy who has an eye disease. I start piecing in this stuff and creating a new script. And I was really psyched with the first draft, 92 pages. I thought, oh, okay, this is almost done. And then, like, people didn't get it. And that really sucked. I thought it was almost like 90% there, and then nobody was getting it. Boris thought it was 50, but after no one got it, it went down to 40% in his imagination. So I have to go back to the drawing board and do it all over again. So I go back down to basics. What is the story about? What am I trying to say? And ultimately, thematically, the movie is about disassociation and modern day isolation. And how, even though we're fully connected in the world, we're not connected. We're really isolated, which is a topic even more to the point these days. Anyway, I went back, I did another draft. I did a couple of drafts. So we're up to the fourth draft a year later, finally nailed it down. By that time, we had already raised 45,000. See, that's what I meant by multitasking. Like, Boris wasn't waiting for me to finish the script. I was working on the script, and he was working on getting cash and hitting all his sources. So by that time, we finally had the fourth draft ready to go to war. And as I told you, it's never done. Like, even so, once we were ready to go, we started shooting. But then there was a yellow draft, a green draft, and a blue draft because stuff changed on set. You just have to go with it. Like, stuff is going to change on set. You just have to be prepared. So, I told you about him getting this board of trade. So this was a scene I wrote, not knowing we had that, and it was supposed to be a disgusting, messy office, but it turned out to be the boardroom of a board of trade. You could see how classy it is. And I thought that was an interesting thing. Like, it opened up a very different look than the seedy world we expected. Like, it was an unexpected choice. And that's just the way it is. You just got to roll with the changes. And as we moved into post production, for instance, you see these 4 scenes. We shot all these scenes, but we screened the movie, and people were saying that it was slow. So, man, we cut all this stuff. Like, we had it all, and we cut it just to move the story along. It wasn't like in the script, it looks fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with all this. But then we had the footage, and it just wasn't working. Like, it was too slow. So we cut it all. And what I'm trying to tell you here is that in the edit room, it's not about what's in the script anymore. It's about maximizing what you shot. Like, once you shoot the movie, the script doesn't matter. Honestly, like, it's now what you shot, and let's maximize that. Again, in post production, we were seeing how people were reacting, and we moved scenes around. In the first 5 pages, of course, you want to establish the protagonist, the tone of the movie, the world of the movie, and the beginnings of conflict. And again, you want to maximize what you shot, not necessarily what was in the script. Script is over. It's now about what you have in the can. Okay, so going through this a little bit on the distribution side. What happened with this movie Chat was we got a sales agent pretty quick. Showcase Entertainment, yay. Sundance rejected us, boo. Other A Fest level places rejected us, boo. But then in later 2015, Gravitas agreed to distribute it, yes. And you could see some of this stuff with North America Cable, VOD, advertising based video on demand versus subscription based. I didn't know any of this stuff. But eventually, you hang around long enough, you learn it. So we were actually making money, and we could start paying investors back. Good. That's the goal, right? Like gold standard is, oh, we broke even. Awesome. So armed with the Gravitas deal, Showcase was selling this movie in American film market. Great. Into foreign markets. Every time a different country purchases it, we get a check. Great. Not much on the DVD side, but whatever. We'll take whatever checks we can get. It gets us closer to breaking even. Movie screened at the Siskel Center for about a week. That was nice. Everyone in town got to see it. All our friends. Trailer needed some reworking, which cost $5,000. We weren't happy about that. So the whole movie cost less than 50. So like spending 5,000 on a trailer isn't terribly cool. But I think if you go to YouTube, you could still see that trailer. So what's all this amount to? I just updated this, so I think these links will work if you want to look at the movie that we've been talking about here. It's still on iTunes, it's on Google, Vudu, it's on other places. We get small amounts quarterly, I can't remember, or maybe twice a year, moving toward breaking even. And there's certain things you have to think about on the distribution side. This isn't a production side lecture, so I was only going to touch upon this. But you have to decide on the film fests. You want to start at the top, with the Sundance level, or do you want to go more local, smaller ones, niche market, get accepted into a lot of those, and work your way up? Like that's a choice you have to make. Another choice is, are we going to go self distribution or not? Like a company like Gravitas is going to take a piece. But they're doing the majority of the work on that side versus I'm not giving up the piece and I'm going to get all of the money. Am I going to have a name actor come in for a cameo, which you could do surprisingly cheaply? You might be able to get a name, a C rate name to put on the box for whatever, $2,000. But there is realistic expectations without name actors not getting into major fests. Like it's not going to be easy to sell this movie. Getting into a major fest is a coup. That would be great. I'll show you one or two of those in a second. You do make money on the foreign side, so don't do value that. Like if you're on it and you have a sales agent, those sales will come. And on the digital side, try to get it into multiple platforms with multiple revenue streams, which we do. Seed and Spark is pretty cool. I have a couple friends who've done that. That's for self-distribution. Versus, Gravitas, which takes small movies. Some of them you've heard of, some you haven't. But it's a big choice you have to make because you're the one who controls this. You're in charge. Upstream Color was made by Shane Carruth, who did Primer. I think he didn't have a very good experience with Primer on the distribution side. So for his second movie, he took a more active role in distribution and marketing. And I think he made more money with the second movie, even though the first movie was better received. He's a very, very cool micro budget director. Great. He scores his movies too. He's just great. My friend had got into Sundance with this $35,000 movie called All My Friends Are Funeral Singers, about a haunted house and a medium who walks through with all these spirit manifestations. Tim didn't need to live in Los Angeles to make this movie. He never sent out query letters. He never submitted to screenwriting contests. Like, you don't have to do that. If you're making micro budget, I don't have to send out to Nickel because I don't need their approval. I'm going to make the movie myself. Great. And if it breaks through and I get to Sundance, believe me, my phone will blow up with people making me offers. And that is what you want. You don't want to go to those people begging. You want them to come to you. So you have to do something like really original. Like you have to show like, okay, I got some chops. This was cool. It made IndieWire about this cinematographer with this camera rig to shoot a moving car. Really unique rig. Good enough to get a story on IndieWire, which is really good coverage for your micro. Of course, shooting with iPhones, it's now whatever, Blase, Tangerine was one of the first, well received. Sean Baker and set up his career, like whatever, Florida Project, and who knows where from there. Like he's one of the major directors now, and it started with micro. Another angle that you possibly could take is to make a short film and then make it as a feature. Like I believe this woman came through Columbia and she got a short accepted at Cannes, and then got enough interest to shoot the feature. I would have to check on that, but I think that was her approach. So don't think that it always has to be a feature length. It doesn't. It really doesn't. Like your micro budget project could be a short film. It could be a web series too, but we're not getting into that. We're out of time, actually. I got to get through this. Some final thoughts. Don't ever let them tell you no, because most of the great filmmakers from the 90s, right? If you ever read Spike Lee, like he was hitting up his mom for money. David Lynch with the Eraserhead had a paper route. I'm not kidding you. And he was taking ends of film stock out of garbage cans. Cassavetes was making other people's movies. Orson Welles made wine commercials. Robert Rodriguez sold himself for medical experiments. So if that's good enough for them, I'm not saying you have to sell yourself for medical experiments, but I'm saying people have struggled, really talented people. And they weren't told no by the powers that be. There's the gate, right? It's like a castle moat or something. Like it's like, how am I going to get through that gate? They see you coming. They could smell you. You're part of the unwashed. Hey, I have a script. I'm really special. They're laughing at you. Like it's not going to happen. Okay. The way to get around these walls is to go around the wall, like go through the back way. The way to do that is to make something smaller, kick ass, get out there, like make a mark. Show them you can do it. You have the talent. Church of the DIY, right? Do it yourself. Filmmaking. In '96, my first movie, it cost almost $250,000. We shot it in 18 days on film. The last movie was shot for $44,000 in 18 days on 5D. So that's what micro budget has done. The technology has enabled us and enabled a freedom like never before. And it's allowed people like us to make movies and not have to make artistic compromises. It's made it possible. I did just check this last year. There were 13,000 submissions in Sundance. That includes, I think, 4,000 features, and the rest were shorts. That was a record number because when you lower the barriers of entry, like then everyone can make a movie, right? And outside of the coronavirus, where no one's making movies, once we get past that, like everyone will be making movies again. So it's not easy. Like you're still going to have to make a good movie. But the digital technology is it's unbelievable. Like it just gets better and better. Great cameras and software programs for editing, and then you add on top of that the video on demand. The streaming platforms, which just keep growing. The thirst for content. It's never been a better time. There's people are looking for quote unquote content. Lower production budgets, free movie makers from traditional barriers of entry. So, in short, like I just want to leave on a positive note. Like it's a really good time to be making movies and thus to writing them, because it doesn't like nothing happens until the script exists. The writer at the top of this process is the god. Like we're the ones who make it happen. And for a long time, you just had to get other people's permission, right? Because you didn't have the money. It was just a dream. But now it is not just a dream. Like it can actually happen if you just get it out there. Like you write something good, you study the market, and you make it happen. So I do think you should do that. You can make it happen. Go to my blog if you ever want to talk to me again. Or ask me some questions. I'll be happy to help. And it's been a pleasure talking to you. I'm sorry I went long, Sue. I think that's it. Thank you for
Oh,
coming by, people. Thank you. Any questions?
oh, that was great, Paul. No problems with going over. There, if you have a question, please feel free to type it into the question area at this time, and we will get Paul to answer those. And I have a question here from Heidi. Do you think there will be restrictions or regulations on indie production coming out of the pandemic versus studio or major money budget production?
Yeah. Sue, are you still hearing me?
Yes, I'm still
Okay,
hearing
because I
you.
have the questions blown up large on my screen, so I just wanted to make sure you were still hearing me. Uh, I,
Yep.
I, I would recommend you go, Heidi, to deadline.com because it has like up to the date, like up to the minute doings on what is happening in the business. And I looked at a couple of articles yesterday about how they are planning on uh, sanitizing. It's going to take an hour, maybe an hour and a half on larger budget movies now to whatever to make them coronavirus free, if such a thing is possible. Um, and there's going to be all kinds of stuff that never existed before, from the lowest stuff like how do you do craft services, or not sharing, grips and gaffers, not sharing their equipment. How are we lighting when we can't get near each other? And how do actors touch? Like they have been thinking about this for a long time, but I do believe it's going to happen. They have been in pre-production. In other words, nothing's happening, but that doesn't mean they're not making deals now. Like they have lined up a lot of stuff, and when the barriers come down, like it's totally going to happen. But you're right. Like set etiquette is going to change. Anyone else?
Okay, we'll wait here a couple seconds in case someone is typing in another question. And if not, if you had any closing comments you'd like to make, Paul, feel free.
No. I mean, it is. It's such a weird time, right? It's never happened before where all of LA is like disabled, and TV, film. Uh, but I am optimistic. I think eventually we'll get to a some sort of a finger prick, like some system where I can almost like a whatever pregnancy test in 4 minutes. I can see if you're good, and then you get access to the set. And if you're not good, you're going home and writing a little report about everyone you have been around for the last week. Oh, what is this question? Do all exterior location shoots need proof of permits? Yeah, there's a great big book. Even the short films at Columbia had books, producer books that were like 8 inches thick of permits, locations, actors, crew. Every single thing needs to be locked down. Like, but again, like if you're just making it to make it and you're going to wing it and steal some we stole locations with Jane Doe. It's a different thing. You know what I mean? You're not gonna have to sweat it. Even who knows? Maybe even some smaller fests, you wouldn't have to have proof of that. But I know for distributors, like they demand all that stuff. Anyone else? Well, maybe it. Oh, sure, anytime, Oscar.
I was going to say, Paul, if you wanted to put up your contact information again, so if people have a question after the fact, they can reach out to you because your PowerPoint
Oh,
went
I can
down.
write it here, right? Wait, where can I write it?
No, just just bring. Did you have it on your PowerPoint, that
Oh
last
yeah.
slide?
Yeah. You can always reach me through Script Gods Must Die. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Great.
Anyone else?
Well, we'll see here if another one comes in.
This is kind of how my classes at Columbia go. I get used to it after a while.
That's just because you do such a good job.
Yeah, right.
So people don't have any questions.
I do hope you guys make your movies. I really do. I hope you take back the power and can make these make your mark. Thanks, Heidi.
All right. Well, if we don't have any more questions, I'm going to sign off for today. And thank you again, Paul, for a great presentation. I want to thank all of you for coming today. We hope you enjoyed this webinar. Reminder that there'll be an email coming out with a link to the recording. And hopefully we will get that out at the first of the week or maybe over the weekend. Watch for it to come. If you don't see it, check your spam folders because sometimes they get stuck there. If you still don't see it, feel free to reach out to us and we will resend it to you. And please check out Screenwriters University for any of our next upcoming webinars that we have planned. And we will hopefully see you again one day soon. And we hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, everybody. And thanks, Sue.